Hi everyone, my name is Mary Schaefer. I am currently working at Chichester School District at Hilltop Elementary as the art teacher there. I actually just landed this job right before this coming school year, which starts tomorrow. Before that, I worked in Delaware in Colonial School District as an elementary teacher between two schools. And before that, I worked at Muhlenberg Intermediate School. So I originally got my art education degree through Kutztown University, but I was always a huge advocate for STEAM, which is one of the things about me. So that's why I'm going ahead and getting my STEM certification with my Master's of Education through Millersville, because I feel it's really important, the creative thinking behind STEM, by adding the A, which of course I could get on my soapbox and talk about forever, because most people think it's just adding, a paintbrush and paint into everything, which is not my standpoint. I believe it's the creative thinking and the aesthetics behind STEM alone, and adding in that artistic background to it. So other than that, I am a working artist. The one room up in the left-hand corner is my studio. I just finished painting. It took me about 3 months to complete. It's called a Zentangle. Other than doing art, I'm a Mustang lover, which makes me a little bit of a motorhead. My dad has always owned Mustangs, so I helped him redo our one Mustang, and just always grown up being a Mustang lover and working around cars and going to car shows, which takes me to Rally North America, which is a group of people that fundraise for certain organizations. We've raised money for children, people with certain illnesses, for soldiers. We've raised over hundreds of thousands of dollars for each different organization, and each summer we go on a little road trip, which is like a checkpoint scavenger hunt. I'm also a runner. I'm coming up on my fourth half marathon this October. Very family oriented. My husband and I just got a house in Upper Chichester, and I'm also a huge cat lover. I have two cats. Also grew up with cats other than the cars, so I love having my little kitty cats around. So, after doing the readings between the 7 strategies and the 6 parts of assessment, I felt that they had a lot of similarities, and a few differences. So, first of all, the similarities were that they obviously both encourage providing clear instructions, that way that all students can stay on track. They know what their learning target is, they know where they need to go in order to reach the end goal. In the reading about assessment as learning, it talked about going through a like a slideshow to talk about what the end goal was going to be in the science class, and that was a major point in the reading of the 7 strategies, was to make sure that all students knew where they needed to go. That way they could complete what needed to be done. There was also talk of opportunity for self-correction, self-reflection, individual and group feedback. So in the 7 strategies, it talked about providing students with self-reflection opportunities and giving time for them to self-assess what they're doing. So really having students think about what they're doing and if they did it successfully. In the 6-part reading, it talked about how the students started with their own research project, which then transformed into a group project, and if they found while doing the group project that their opinions or their thoughts had changed, that they can go ahead and do that. So it wasn't like that they had to stick to their one idea through and through. They could manipulate their idea if they decided they were wrong or if it strengthened their opinion. It allowed a lot of play within what they were doing before they handed in the final product, which in turn, individual and group feedback was happening the entire time. Teacher clears up misconceptions, determining next steps. So I took this as During the 6-part reading, it talked about how after all the presentations were given, the teacher went over the misconceptions. That way, all the students could hear things that were maybe wrong, or maybe there was the same misconception coming up over and over again that he was able to clear up. And in turn, this let him know what the next steps for learning should be. If he realized that students were having the same problem in almost every group, then he knew that he needed to either review something or something was missed during the teaching or during their research. So he can go from there and decide where he's going to go within the next lesson, whether it's a review lesson or if he's ready to take the next step in the curriculum. So a few things that were different. It did not talk about, in the 6 parts of assessment, it did not talk about showing examples of weak work, which I'll just skip right down to my philosophy. I don't really show weak work because to me, it's not important for students to see what's absolutely wrong. It's important for me to students see what is right and how they can look up to something that might have gotten the best grade or something that might have done very well. Not to necessarily compare themselves, but at least for them to start thinking ahead. Because I believe if you're showing them the worst work, it's kind of, I don't know, it's degrading to whoever's work that was at one time. And it's providing a door to failure where if we're not looking at the failure, we're always looking to the bettering. We're always looking to the success. Students are only going to look towards the success. They're not going to look at their project as a failure. They're going to look at their project at what can be made or what could be done further to be the best project that they can possibly make. I also looked at the feedback schedule. In the 7 strategies, it talked a lot about feedback almost all the time. Writing it on a rubric or giving it during a discussion or giving it along the way multiple times, where in the 6 parts of assessment, I felt it was more like a schedule of events. And I think it came down to because this was an AP chemistry class, it was more at the end of each assessment or mini assessment instead of just constantly. But that's kind of how I looked into the difference of feedback, which I did talk a little bit about my philosophy, which would be next. But the other things that I wanted to touch on was art is a place where most kids want to feel welcomed. It's a place where they can start thinking outside the box. And I'm very fortunate to work with elementary school, even though I know testing is still just as strenuous then as it would be in high school. I can really see where these kids get to play and start using their imagination before sometimes it's crushed out of some of them. So reducing anxiety is my main goal. Students walk into my class ready to create. And sometimes that's not as easy as it sounds because a lot of students are afraid of failure. They're afraid of mistakes, which is one thing that I am sure to always talk to with my students. Mistakes are okay. Trial and error is a part of life. If we're doing something brand new with collage and they're not getting it right or they're tearing the paper wrong, which somehow students can do, it's okay. You just try again. Or you accidentally have a stray mark, it's okay. You make it work. And that's a huge importance to me. And I know it talked about it in the 6th part of assessment, saying that, where is it? It was important to them to reduce anxiety. Test anxiety is reduced due to collaboration. There it is. So I feel that that's important when they're working at their tables with students, sharing supplies and working together towards an end goal. That anxiety is lessened because they know that it's okay if they do mess up or if there is something that's not perfect, that they can make it work for their artwork. And the other thing was constant oral feedback validates work or makes students question. I am constantly walking around the room, checking in with tables, checking in with students one-on-one. So I'm always announcing things. If I notice something constantly happening, like the misconceptions that was talked about in the 6 parts of assessment, I would bring it to the student's attention right away. I wouldn't wait until the end when they're handing in the projects, it'd be something that I would announce to the class as a whole. So students that maybe weren't thinking about it, now they are, or students that were heading the wrong direction, now they can get back right on track. And those students that are already doing the right thing, they could be saying in their head, okay, all right, I was doing this the right way. I'm going to keep going. I don't have to worry anymore. So that's where they're either validating what they're doing, or it'll make a student stop and say, oh, wait, am I doing this right? Do I need to ask a question? Do I need to, ask my shoulder partner if I'm doing this right? So after reading the 7 strategies seemed more open to different ideologies, but the 6th part of assessment I seem to fall in line with because it talked about the test anxiety reduced through collaboration, which, like I said, was very important to me. It talked about student feedback being affirming, which when we talk with our students constantly in art, it's reassuring that they're doing the right thing and that I'm teaching the right thing. So I felt more connections were made between the 6 parts of assessment, and I felt that followed my philosophy a little more. So that was my all-around take from the readings. I hope you enjoyed.